The Grand Hall of the Valorian Empire was the largest room Park Do-yoon had ever seen. It stretched so far that he could not see the other end. The ceiling rose high above, covered in strange crystals that glowed with soft blue light. Everything in this place was made to make visitors feel small and afraid. Park Do-yoon did not feel small or afraid. He sat in the visitors' area with his legs crossed. In his hands was an old book made of real paper. He had brought it from Earth. It was his favorite story, one he had read many times before. But he never got tired of it. Around him, hundreds of Valorian nobles filled the great hall. They were tall beings, almost 3 meters high. Each one had 4 arms and skin that glowed with different colors. When they were calm, their skin was purple. When they were happy, it turned soft pink. When they were angry, it became bright red. Right now, most of them were purple. But that was about to change. High Commander Thexus walked to the center of the hall. He was the leader of all Valorian military forces. His body was larger than the others, and his 4 arms were thick with muscle. He carried a long metal staff covered in jewels. When he struck it against the floor, the sound was like thunder. Human representative. His voice filled the entire hall. You stand before the Valorian Empire. Do-hyun turned a page in his book. He did not look up. Behind him stood Ambassador Yoon-jia. She was a tall woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She had worked with Do-hyun for 5 years. She knew exactly what he was doing. She kept her face still, but inside she wanted to smile. Thexus continued his speech. His skin began to shift from purple toward red. We have conquered the spiral reach. 12 empires knelt before us in this very hall. We have broken the mind weavers of Proxima. We have crushed the crystalline collective. 43 civilizations have surrendered to our power. Do-hyun found a comfortable position in his chair. He turned another page. The nobles in the hall began to whisper. This had never happened before. Every species that came to this hall showed fear. Every ambassador had trembled when Thexus spoke. But this human sat there reading a book like he was waiting for a bus. You will show respect, Thexus roared. His skin was now fully red. The crystals on the ceiling vibrated with his anger. The Valorian Empire formally declares war upon human territories. Your colonies will burn. Your homeworld will become dust. Your people will kneel before us or die. He slammed his staff against the floor again. The sound was even louder this time. Do-hyun held up one finger. He still did not look up from his book. Just a moment, he said. His voice was calm and friendly. I am at a really good part. Silence fell over the grand hall. Complete and total silence. Even Thexus stood frozen, his forearms hanging still at his sides. His skin flickered between red and a confused orange color. Ambassador Yoon stepped forward slightly. Envoy Park takes his reading very seriously, she said. Her voice was polite and professional. I am sure he will be with you shortly. One of the nobles leaned toward another and whispered, Is this some kind of human battle tactic? Perhaps they have gone mad from fear, the other whispered back. Do-hyun turned another page. He made a small sound of enjoyment, like someone eating good food. This is such a good chapter, he said to no one in particular. Thexus took a step toward the human. His body shook with rage. In 60 years of command, he had never been ignored like this. He had destroyed entire planets. He had ended civilizations. And now a small human was reading a book during his declaration of war. Human. You will address the High Commander. Do-hyun finally looked up. His face was pleasant and friendly. He looked at Thexus the way someone might look at a child who had interrupted an adult conversation. I heard you, he said. War, burning colonies, dust and kneeling. Very impressive. But I really must finish this chapter first. He looked back down at his book. Yoon pressed her lips together tightly. She had to work very hard not to laugh. She remembered the first time she had seen Dine do this. It was during negotiations with the Trader Guilds of Sector 7. They had threatened to cut off all food supplies to human colonies. Do-hyun had responded by taking out a sandwich and eating it very slowly while they shouted at him. The Trader Guilds had given humans a very good trade deal after that. They had been so confused that they forgot to be aggressive. Thexis turned to his advisors. His skin was now a strange mix of red and purple, showing both anger and confusion. "What do we do?" he asked quietly. "This is not in any of our protocols." His chief advisor, a thin Valorian with pale blue skin, shook his head slowly. "We have no procedure for this, High Commander. No species has ever responded this way." In the visitors area, Do-hyun smiled at something in his book. He turned another page. The declaration of war had been made. The Valorian Empire had announced its intention to destroy humanity. And the human envoy just kept reading, somewhere far away. On a planet called Earth, Defense Minister Choi Yoon-ji received the official war declaration. She read it while eating her lunch. When she finished, she laughed so hard that rice came out of her nose. She forwarded the message to her staff with a simple note. "These guys have no idea what they are getting into." Then she went back to eating her lunch. There was no need to rush. Humans have been doing this for a very long time. 3 days passed after the war declaration. In the Grand Hall of the Valorian Empire, nothing had changed. Park Do-hyun still sat in his chair. He was still reading his book. The Valorians did not know what to do. On the first day, they had sent servants to remove him. The servants approached him politely and asked him to leave. Do-hyun had smiled at them and said, "No, thank you. I am comfortable here." The servants looked at each other, confused. They were trained to serve, not to force. They left without him. On the second day, they sent guards. 10 large Valorian soldiers marched into the hall with weapons ready. Do-hyun looked up from his book and offered them some dried fruit from his pocket. "Would you like some?" he asked. "I also have a very interesting book here. It is about war and strategy. A human general wrote it thousands of years ago." He read passages to them for 2 hours. The guards sat and listened. When their commander came to check on them, he found his soldiers discussing something called knowing your enemy and knowing yourself. They seemed very interested in human philosophy. The commander reported back to High Command. "The human has some kind of mind control power," he said. "He turned my guards into students." On the third day, High Commander Thexis himself stood outside the Grand Hall, pacing back and forth. His skin changed colors every few seconds. Red to purple to orange to red again. He had not slept. He had not eaten properly. All he could think about was the human reading his book. "This is impossible," he said to his advisors. "We declared war. We threatened to destroy their entire civilization. And he just sits there." His chief advisor pulled up a communication screen. "High Commander, the humans have opened what they call a diplomatic courtesy channel. Their representative wishes to speak with you." Thexis grabbed the screen. On it appeared the face of an older human man with gray hair on the sides of his head. His name was Kwon Haniel. He smiled politely at Thexis. "Good morning, High Commander," Haniel said. His voice was soft and calm. "I understand there have been some concerns about our envoy." "Concerns?" Thexis shouted. His skin turned deep red. "Your envoy mocks us. He ignores our sacred declaration of war." "Does he?" Haniel tilted his head slightly. Envoy Park simply enjoys finishing his books. He finds it rude to leave a story incomplete. "I am sure you understand. Rude? We announced war. Yes, we received your declaration. Very dramatic. Very well written. The committee reviewed it during their lunch break. They were quite impressed with the language. Thexis blinked his three eyes. Lunch break? You reviewed our declaration of war during a meal? We were having bibimbap. It is rice with vegetables and meat. Very delicious. You should try it sometime. Thexis looked at his advisors. They looked back at him. None of them understood what was happening. Where are your warships? Thexis demanded. Where are your defenses? Why have you not mobilized your military? Annual smiled again. It was a peaceful smile, like a grandfather talking to a curious child. Why would we rush? Your fleet is still many days away from our territory. We have time. You have time? You have time for what? For Envoy Park to finish his book, of course. Back on Earth, in a large building in the center of Seoul, Defense Minister Choi Yoon-ji sat in her office. Her desk was covered with reports about the Valorian Empire. She had read them all. She knew their military strength. She knew their history. She knew how they had conquered so many civilizations. She was not worried that her assistant, a young man named Lee Jae-won, walked into her office. Minister, the Valorian fleet has begun moving toward our space. 200 warships. 50,000 soldiers. Yoon-ji nodded slowly. She picked up a cup of tea and took a small sip. Good, good. Jae-won looked confused. Minister, they have enough firepower to destroy a planet. So do we. Yoon-ji put down her tea. Jae-won, do you know how many times in human history someone has threatened to destroy us? I do not know the exact number. Neither do I. We lost count centuries ago. She smiled. Every time someone says they will end humanity. Every time, humanity is still here afterward. The Valorians think they are special. They think they are the first great empire to challenge us. She turned her chair to look out the window. The city stretched out below her, full of lights and life and millions of people going about their day. None of them were panicking. None of them were hiding. They had heard about the war declaration, and they had simply continued living. Send a message to all colony worlds, Yoon-ji said. Tell them to prepare for visitors. Make sure we have plenty of food. The Valorians are coming, and they will probably be hungry. Jae-won wrote down her instructions, still confused. Minister, are we not going to fight? Yoon-ji laughed softly. Oh, we will fight. Just not the way they expect. In the Grand Hall, Do-hyun turned another page of his book. Ambassador Yoon brought him a fresh cup of tea. She also brought news. The Valorian fleet has started moving, she said quietly. Do-hyun took a sip of his tea. It was warm and good. How long until they reached New Bizen? About 7 days. Perfect. He held up his book. I have about that much left. The timing works out nicely. Yoon smiled. Shall I tell Earth anything? Tell them to make extra soup. We are going to have a lot of guests soon. The Valorian Third Fleet came out of hyperspace at the edge of human territory. 200 warships appeared in a flash of blue light. Each ship was massive, built for war, covered in weapons. 50,000 soldiers waited inside, ready to fight and conquer. Admiral Vexion stood on the command deck of his flagship. He was a decorated warrior who had won 60 battles. He had never lost a single fight in his entire career. His skin glowed with confident purple light. Scan the area, he ordered. Find their defense fleet. His tactical officer worked the controls. The screens lit up with information. Then the officer made a strange sound. Admiral, there is only one ship. Vexion leaned forward. One ship? One warship? No, Admiral. One cargo ship. A freight vessel. A freight vessel. On the main screen, they could see it. A small, battered human ship floated in space. It was old and dirty. The paint was peeling off its sides. It was clearly designed to carry cargo, not to fight. It was the least threatening thing Vexion had ever seen. Inside that cargo ship, a woman named Shinmei sat in the pilot's seat. She was eating an apple and listening to music. When she saw the massive Valorian fleet appear around her, she raised her eyebrows slightly. Then she took another bite of her apple. Her communication screen lit up. A Valorian face appeared on it. Human vessel. This is Admiral Vexion of the Valorian Third Fleet. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Myray swallowed her bite of apple. She turned down her music a little. Sorry, what? I could not hear you over my song. Vexion repeated his message. His skin began to turn red. Mira, he looked at the fleet on their scanners. 200 warships. She looked back at the Admiral. Yeah, okay, that is impressive. But you are blocking the shipping lane. Can you move? I have fertilizer to deliver. The Admiral's skin turned even more red. You face the might of the Valorian Third Fleet. This is not a shipping lane anymore. This is a war zone. Look, friend, I do not care about your war. I have farmers waiting for this fertilizer. Do you know what happens when crops do not get fertilized on time? Farmers get angry. Have you ever faced an angry farmer? I would rather deal with your whole fleet. She ended the communication. Then she flew her ship directly through their formation. The Valorian ships were not prepared for this. They had to move quickly to avoid hitting her. 2 destroyers were not fast enough. Her old cargo ship scratched the paint on their sides as she passed. Oops, Myray said, not sounding sorry at all. Maybe do not park in the shipping lane next time. She continued on her way, humming along to her music. On the flagship, Admiral Vexion stood in complete silence. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. Nobody knew what to say. What just happened? Vexion finally asked. His tactical officer shook his head slowly. I do not know, Admiral. She flew through our entire fleet. She scratched 2 of our ships. She complained about shipping lanes. Yes, Admiral. Vexion sat down heavily in his command chair. His skin flickered between red and confused orange. Continued to the target planet. The fleet moved forward. Their destination was New Bizon, a human colony world. Intelligence reports said it had 12 million people. It was an agricultural planet, mostly farms and small cities. It should be an easy conquest. When they arrived at New Bizon, they expected to find defenses, orbital weapons, military ships, armies waiting on the ground. Instead, they found a festival. The entire planet seemed to be celebrating something. Colorful lights hung from every building in every city. Music played from speakers on every street. The smell of cooking food drifted up to their sensors. People were dancing and laughing and eating together. Governor Baek Junho called them directly. He was a round man with a big smile. Behind him, Vexion could see people having a party. Oh, you are the Valorians, Junho said happily. Welcome to New Bizon. We have heard so much about you. Terrible timing, though. We are in the middle of our harvest festival. Everyone is very busy. Vexion tried to sound threatening. Governor, we are here to invade your planet. Yes, I understand. Very important business. But can you come back next week? Tuesday works well for us. We will have more time to focus on being invaded properly. You want us to schedule the invasion? It would be very helpful. Oh, hold on. Someone behind Junho handed him a plate of food. He took a bite and made a happy sound. This is so good. Have you ever tried Korean food, Admiral? You really must try it. Vexion turned off the communication. He looked at his officers. They looked back at him. Everyone's skin was flickering with confusion. Launch the invasion, Vexion ordered. Full ground assault, now. 20,000 Valorian soldiers loaded into dropships. They descended to the planet's surface in perfect military formation. They landed just outside the capital city, weapons ready, prepared for battle. They found an old woman waiting for them. Her name was Grandmother M. Nobody knew her first name. She had been called Grandmother M for the past 40 years. She was small and wrinkled and very old. In her hands, she carried a large pot of hot soup. She looked at the 20,000 soldiers with their plasma rifles and their battle armor. She did not seem impressed. "You boys look hungry," she said. "Sit down, eat." A soldier pointed his weapon at her. "We are here to conquer your world." "That is nice, dear. The soup is getting cold. Sit, eat, then you can conquer." Something in her voice made the soldier lower his weapon. He looked at his fellow soldiers. They looked at the soup. It smelled really good. 200 of them sat down and started eating before their commander could stop them. The Valorian invasion of New Bizon was not going according to plan. In fact, it was not going like any invasion in Valorian history. Commander Vorkith led his troops toward the capital city. They marched in perfect formation, weapons ready, armor shining. They were the finest soldiers in the Empire. They had conquered dozens of worlds together. They made it 200 meters before they met the second obstacle. A man named No Ta-sun stood in the middle of the road. He was thin and pale, with glasses that sat crookedly on his nose. He wore a simple gray suit. Behind him were 14 large boxes on wheels. "Good afternoon," Ta-sun said politely. "I am from the Occupation Compliance Office." Commander Vorkith stopped his troops. "The what?" "The Occupation Compliance Office. You are here to occupy our planet, correct?" "We are here to conquer your planet." "Yes, of course." "Same thing really. But before you can do that, we need to process some paperwork." Vorkith's skin flickered with confusion. "Paperwork?" Ta-sun smiled. It was the smile of someone who truly loved his job. "Oh, yes. You cannot just occupy a planet without proper documentation. There are rules, forms, procedures." He opened the first box and pulled out a thick stack of papers. "This is Form 27B, subsection C. It covers resource allocation during occupation. You need to fill this out so we know how much food and water your troops will need." He pulled out another stack. "This is Form 44, military housing permits. Your soldiers need somewhere to sleep, correct? This form tells us how many buildings to prepare." Another stack. "Environmental impact assessment. Your ships produce emissions. We need to measure how this affects our atmosphere." More stacks. More forms. More papers. Vorkith stared at the mountain of paperwork growing in front of him. His soldiers shifted nervously behind him. This was not what they had trained for. "This is insane," Vorkith said. "We are not going to fill out forms. We are going to conquer you. I understand your enthusiasm," Ta-sun said calmly. "But to conquest without paperwork is just chaos." "Do you want chaos, Commander?" "Of course not. Nobody wants chaos. Now, please start with Form 27B. You will need to list the names of all commanding officers." 2 hours later, Commander Vorkith sat on the ground, surrounded by papers. 3 of his officers were helping him fill out forms. They had already finished Form 27B and were working on Form 44A. Back at the dropship landing zone, things were even stranger. Grandmother M had served soup to over 200 soldiers. Now she was teaching them how to make more soup. 30 Valorian warriors stood around large cooking pots, carefully cutting vegetables and stirring broth. No, Grandmother M said to one soldier. "You cut the radish too thick. Like this, thin slices. It cooks better." The soldier nodded seriously. He tried again. Grandmother patted his arm with approval. Good boy. You learn fast. In the city center, the harvest festival continued. Human citizens danced and laughed, completely ignoring the invasion. Some of them had started teaching Valorian soldiers how to dance. Others were sharing food and drinks. A young Valorian soldier named Kesix found himself sitting next to a human woman named Moon Eugen. She was a farmer with strong hands and a bright smile. She handed him a bowl of something she called bibimbap. What is this? Kesix asked. Rice, vegetables, meat, egg. All mixed together. Very delicious. Try it. Kesix looked at the colorful food. It smelled amazing. He had never seen anything like it before. Valorian food was simple and plain. It was designed for nutrition, not for pleasure. He took a bite. His skin immediately turned bright pink. His 3 eyes widened. The flavors exploded in his mouth in ways he had never experienced before. This is. He could not find words. Eugen laughed. Good, right? Eat more. You are too skinny. By the end of the day, 17 Valorian officers had formally requested asylum. They did not want to go back to their ships. They wanted to stay on New Bizin and learn how to cook. Admiral Vexion received reports from the ground. He read them in disbelief. Our soldiers are doing what? Making kimchi, Admiral. It is a fermented vegetable dish. Apparently, it takes several weeks to prepare properly. And our invasion force? About half of them have joined the harvest festival. They are helping with the crops. Vexion sat down heavily. His skin was a strange gray color that nobody had ever seen before. It was the color of complete confusion. What about Commander Vorkith? He is still filling out paperwork, Admiral. The human bureaucrat says he needs to complete approximately 600 more forms before the occupation can be officially recognized. On the planet's surface, night had fallen. The festival continued under colorful lights. Valorian soldiers sat with human families, sharing meals and stories. Some of them had removed their armor. They looked smaller without it. More normal. More like people instead of conquerors. Grandmother and walked through the crowds, making sure everyone had enough to eat. She stopped next to a young Valorian soldier who sat alone, looking up at the stars. You look sad, she said. I am confused, the soldier admitted. We came here to fight, to conquer, but everyone is being so nice. Grandmother sat down next to him. Her old bones creaked, but she did not complain. Why did you join the military? I wanted to see the galaxy. I wanted to be part of something important. And is conquering people important? The soldier thought about this. I always believed it was. But now, I do not know anymore. Grandmother smiled. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small wrapped package. Inside was a homemade rice cake. Eat this, she said. Then help me carry food to the others. Being useful is more important than being powerful. The soldier took the rice cake. He took a bite. His skin turned soft pink. Thank you, Grandmother. Good boy. Now come. There is work to do. 10 days after the invasion began, High Commander Thexis arrived at New Bizin personally. He came in his personal warship, the largest and most powerful vessel in the Valorian fleet. He was angry. He was confused. He needed to understand what was happening to his invasion. His shuttle landed on the main platform outside the capital city. When the doors opened, he found Park Do-hyun waiting for him. The human envoy stood calmly in the morning sunlight. His book was closed and tucked under his arm. He smiled at Thexis like an old friend. Ah, High Commander. Good timing. I just finished my book. Thexis stepped off the shuttle. His forearms were clenched into fists. His skin pulsed with angry red light. You finished your book? Excellent story. The ending was a bit predictable, but still very satisfying. Dahyun stretched his arms and cracked his neck. Now then, you wanted war? Thexis walked toward him. His massive body towered over the small human. Your people have made a mockery of our invasion. Our soldiers are farming. They are cooking. They are filling out paperwork. Good exercise. Fresh air. Character building. This is not how war works. Dahyun's smile did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. They became harder, colder, for just a moment. Thexis saw something ancient and dangerous looking back at him. High Commander, Dahyun said quietly, let me tell you about humanity. He began to walk slowly. Thexis found himself following, listening despite his anger. We've been at war with ourselves for 10,000 years. We fought over land. We fought over water. We fought over ideas. We fought over the colors of our flags. We even fought over which invisible god was the real one. They walked past a garden where Valorian soldiers were planting vegetables with human farmers. The soldiers looked happy. Their skin was soft pink and purple. We developed 10,000 ways to kill each other. We burned our own cities to the ground. We poisoned our own rivers. We split the atom and almost destroyed our entire planet. They walked past the bureaucracy office. Inside, Commander Vorka sat surrounded by papers, carefully filling out forms with the help of notation. But we also found 20,000 ways to make peace afterward. We rebuilt our cities. We cleaned our rivers. We learned to share the atom's power instead of using it for destruction. They reached a small hill overlooking the city. The harvest festival was still going on below. Humans and Valorians danced together in the streets. Grandmother M could be seen directing a group of soldiers in the proper way to serve soup. Dahyun turned to face Thexis directly. You think a declaration of war scares us? We invented the concept. You think your fleet impresses us? We built bigger fleets and destroyed them ourselves. You want to conquer us? Get in line. The queue starts behind every empire, every nation, and every warlord who's tried for the past 100 centuries. Ambassador Yoonjia appeared beside them, her tablet glowing with information. Hi, Commander. I have the casualty report from the past 10 days of occupation. Thexis grabbed the tablet. He read the numbers. His skin flickered between colors as he struggled to understand. 0 combat deaths. He whispered. 0, Yoon confirmed. Your forces have suffered 0 casualties. However, they have gained an average of 3 kilograms each from local food. 47 of your officers are now engaged to marry human citizens. Your invasion force has planted 600 acres of winter crops and helped repair a community center. Thexis looked at the tablet. He looked at the city below. He looked at Dahyun. What is this? He asked. His voice was quiet now, confused, lost. Dahyun smiled again. But this time, it was a warm smile. A kind smile. This is how humans fight, High Commander. We do not defeat our enemies. We make them family. He reached into his bag and pulled out a book. It was bound in leather, with strange symbols on the cover. Valorian symbols. Thexis recognized his own language. I had this translated for you, Dahyun said. It is called Don Quixote, a very old human story. It is about a man who fights windmills because he thinks they are giants. It is very funny, very sad, very human. He placed the book in Thexis's trembling hands. Take it, read it, and when you are done, come back. Not as a conqueror. Come back as a guest. We will have soup waiting. Thexis looked at the book. He looked at the humans and Valorians dancing below. He looked at his own soldiers, laughing and eating and being happy for perhaps the first time in their lives. His skin slowly changed. The angry red faded. Purple came next, then soft pink. For the first time in 60 years of military service, High Commander Thexus felt something he had forgotten existed. 12 years later, the Valorian Empire officially dissolved its military. In its place, they created a cultural exchange program. Valorian students came to human worlds to learn cooking and art and dancing. Human students went to Valorian worlds to learn their music and philosophy and history. High Commander Thexus retired to New Bizen. He opened a small bookshop with Grandmother Im. They sold human classics translated into Valorian and Valorian classics translated into human languages. Their bestseller was still The Art of War by a human general named Sun Tzu. They sold it with a recipe book for traditional Korean side dishes. Park Do-hyun moved on to his next assignment. A species of insectoid warriors had declared humanity, vermin, to be exterminated. It was a very threatening message. Do-hyun packed 3 new books, a jar of Korean red pepper flakes, and his best smile. Some wars, he knew, could only be won with patience. And soup. Always soup. The end.